welcome to the Science Faction Podcast, where science meets fact meets fiction.
This is Science Faction for the week of May 12th, 2025. I'm one of your hosts, Stephen Dominguez, and with me today, two individuals that are not in the sands of Dune.
I am Benjamin Daniel Wallace, and I'm not in Sands of Dune, but the spice will flow.
Craft.
So, yeah, Devon, have you seen Labyrinth?
No.
Whoa!
I just brought that up to someone recently because they were talking about because there was a reference to The Princess Bride, and I was like, oh yeah, I only saw that once, and then I was older, so I don't really have that Princess Bride like nostalgia. And I also mentioned the other movie I missed as a kid was Labyrinth, so I never saw Labyrinth.
Wow. I just watched it yesterday. So right before we started recording, Stephen dropped the little bombshell that he had never seen Labyrinth either. And and here we are.
I've seen like bits and pieces, but that's one of those like 80s Muppet movies that I just my parents I never rented it on VHS, and therefore it just kind of passed me by. That like Dark Crystal, what's the one you just said, Devon?
Princess Bride.
Princess Bride. That I had never seen that one. That's not really a Muppet one, but nope. Sorry.
All right. Well, yeah, I rewatched it yesterday. Holds up. It's a weird film. It's a film about, it's got a lot of dream logic in it, but that's kind of the point of it. And it's good. You should watch Labyrinth. David Bowie is incredible. Jennifer Connelly is amazing. The puppets are great.
Puppets or Muppets?
Well, it's a Jim Henson team, but they're not. Well, I mean, it's not like it's Kermit the Frog. It's not the Muppets or anything.
No. But
they are much like Farscape. It's you wouldn't say necessarily it's the Muppets that are in Farscape. There's a lot of puppetry that's in there.
Lowercase m Muppets. When it's Jim Henson, they're Muppets.
I see. Yeah,
there's
curious.
There's a definition. There's a difference between a Muppet and a puppet, and I don't remember what it is. But there's like some definition. Who cares? Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Cool. Labyrinth. We'll look forward next week. We'll give our Labyrinth review. No.
Yeah. Yes. Let's go.
Based on a summary I read 10 years ago.
Yeah. Based on this pitch meeting YouTube video that I watched. Oh boy. Okay. Cool. Well, here we are. Another podcast. We're recording on a Monday again because yesterday was Mother's Day. Hi, moms. Oh, yeah. Ben's mom. Happy Mother's Day. You're definitely listening.
Hi, Mom. Happy Mother's Day, my mom. I hope you got the thing I sent you.
Okay, that's enough, Ben. Just you can't use this podcast to just talk to your mom. It doesn't work that way.
Mom, I really wanted to let you know how incredibly proud I am of all of the things that you've done, and I love you. You're great.
I can't wait to bleep all of that out. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna fix it in post.
It's all right. I'll tell her later. It's cool.
Oh, good. Okay. Awesome. Well, let's get right into it, guys. Last week, my wife was gone all week. I was solo dadding it. It was a rough week. Lots of stuff happened. She was off in Hawaii doing work business. And then this week, tomorrow, we're leaving for a week to go to Arizona. Where are we going? We're going to some resort because, again, for her job, they won a trip to go do a thing at a resort. And it was like, hey, you guys, we won this trip because we did good business with business people. Okay. Hey, Martine, why don't you take your husband to go and receive this prize? Okay. And so we get all signed up, and then they send out the itinerary. And it's there's a lot of stuff, and it's not exactly a relaxing time. It can be, it might be, but there's also meetings, and we have to dress up certain nights for events, and it's kind of a bit of a pain. And if we had known the full extent to begin with, we might have passed it along to someone else.
Yeah. Okay.
But oh well. So anyways, like today is I think we're recording this. That's great, but I have a long list of things to prep because my parents are coming to watch the kids for the rest of the week. It's going to be a whole thing. So
and the chickens.
and we've got
And
chickens,
the dogs.
we got chicks, we have dogs, we have children, which you can't call skin puppies, even though some people call dogs fur babies, which is weird. I stole that from the internet. That's not mine. That's funny though.
Oh.
What about organ donors?
Wow.
Organ donors.
Oh.
Ooh, yeah. Backups. Organ backups. What was that movie? The Island?
The Island?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yep.
Your clone backup. Oh, that's not. I mean, it's not a terrible idea. I mean, it kind of is.
I enjoyed that film. I thought it was pretty good, and I think that it's one film that a lot of people dunk on. You know, but
It's a Michael Bay, and it has Black Widow and Obi-Wan Kenobi, if I remember
Right.
correctly.
exactly.
How could you think about that? Those three things together. Forget about it. It's great.
I mean, and like it is what it says on the tin, right? Like, you know, it's not.
It's silly
It's not
action.
thinking man sci-fi.
Sci-fi. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not thinking man sci-fi.
No,
it's
no.
the silly action pew pew sci-fi.
Yeah, it's
you know.
explosion sci-fi, which is fine. You have like science fiction, science fantasy, and then science explosions, which is what that one is.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so you've seen the island, but not Labyrinth.
That is correct.
How about the mountain? Are there any other geological or man-made features that are the names of a film that we have or have not seen?
Oh.
I saw Cliffhanger.
Ooh, good one.
Oh, yeah. I saw Cliffhanger. I remember that.
See, I haven't seen that one. That's the Stallone film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guess what happens?
Rad. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, does the film actually end,
I mean, if you could
or
call
do you have
it,
to wait for the sequel?
we're still waiting.
Yeah. Still
All right.
hanging.
I see here that Devon went to a Renaissance fair, and if there are no things further from fact that I could believe than that Devon went to a Renaissance fair. So please explain what's going on here.
Well, we went last year. So this was the same one. It's a very big Renaissance fair. It's at a place that has permanent structures. It's not open year round. It's open spring and I guess early summer. But it's like a real kind of amusement park because all the buildings are permanent. So they actually are, dressed up and they look, I don't know if to say authentic, but they look cool. So it's not just like a pop-up thing where, things don't look as cool.
It's not in a fairground somewhere. It's like a place.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they have tons of shows. They have rides, but the rides are like things that would be possible in history. Like they don't have roller coasters or anything. They've got
They just shove you in a barrel and toss you down a hill.
basically lots of swinging stuff for the kids. Like you get in and it swings around and they spin them. Or there's one where you like sit on a wooden horse and it like slides down a wooden track. Kind of thing, or that kind of stuff. We saw jousting.
Ooh,
jousting.
Okay,
it was cool. But yeah, so we actually went for 2 days. We left Friday and stayed. We got an Airbnb and went Saturday and Sunday. We stayed with friends. We went with them last year, and so we went this year again. There's not really anything particularly interesting to talk about with it because it's just more of just like, what have you been doing? And that's what I've been doing. It was actually the kids were not great during the trip, and Nolan was not happy to be there. So it was a bit of a downer.
Bit of a.
It was more
downer.
of like, okay, we had as much fun as we could get. We could have. There was a lot of just family stuff to deal with, and it's like, all right, that we survived that. So
I gotcha.
But yeah, so that's what I did. I think I would rather wait maybe a couple years before coming back.
I'm assuming you guys don't dress up.
We don't, but if we go
Ah.
back, I really do want to dress up because that is also part of the fun, and I want to try to get into it more. Maybe that'll also get Nolan more into it.
Yeah, like
Um,
go like make your costumes and make them unique, and then when you go, you can like buy a little thing that'll add to your costume, and that could
yeah,
that could kind of help try to bring them into the what the Ren Fair is. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Let's see what else is going on here. Should we?
Oh
Oh,
man.
my yesterday,
Yeah.
my TV broke.
No,
Yeah.
Steven.
Yes. It just
Oh, what part of it?
it would the screen would turn black. Like every couple
Okay.
of minutes, it would just go black. You'd have to turn it off
Yeah.
and turn it back on again, and then it would stay on for like a minute, maybe two, and then it would just go black again. We ended up looking it up,
Okay.
and it turns out that model has that problem, and there's something in it where it thinks that it's overheating, and so it's turning itself off to like save itself, but it's not actually overheating. And there's a fix, but it's very complicated, and we ended up going to Costco and buying a new TV. So
Okay. So you couldn't send it in and get it
send in
fixed
the TV,
or
the
like
65-inch TV.
oh, I don't know. Like you couldn't. There's no warranty on it.
Yeah, it was under
No,
warranty.
we
Okay.
bought it like 10 years ago. I don't know.
Okay, well then, yeah, that's
Yeah.
and definitely TVs are kind of so cheap that it's like the cost of repairing it's probably close to the cost of a new TV.
I mean, give or take, yeah, the amount of hassle. So when we bought that one, it was over $1,000, and then when we went to Costco, and like we looked it up first to see like, oh, what are our options, and it was like, oh, to get something that's comparable and actually a little bit better is half the cost.
Wow.
So we bought a TV
Okay.
for less than $500 to replace it, and it's a better TV. Yeah.
What makes it better?
The one thing that would say like this is an upgrade is that it has HDR, and the other one didn't.
Oh, okay.
Beyond
So you
that,
got more brighter brights, darker darks.
exactly, yeah, but it's still
Yeah.
it's a 4K. It's the same size. It's an LG, which we have other LG things, and so like link it to the app, and we can do a bunch of stuff with it, and it's fine. It's a smart TV, which we really don't need because we have it connected to the Xbox, and the Xbox is like how we access all of our Netflix and HBO and YouTube, all that nonsense. So really
Is
not
it
necessary.
possible? Did you have an option to buy a not smart TV?
No, not what was in the store. Nope, they're all like that now. That's
It's interesting.
standard.
Like, yeah, the propensity of all of these things of to toss on smart features, quote unquote, when I don't know, I'm just so used to like I'm gonna plug in the thing and that's the thing that I'm gonna upgrade. Like
Yeah.
hey, here's a new console and I'm gonna pop that in and
that is people of our
bothers me.
age has those things, but other people don't. Like
I suppose.
like if we didn't have the Xbox, let's say that's just something I'm not interested in having an Xbox anymore. Throw it away. Well, the
Yeah.
TV can now do all the things that we're mostly using the Xbox for now.
Right. Yeah. And I think but like, why? I don't know. When you get into these situations, it's just planned obsolescence, right? Like, it's weird to me. I'm kind of excited. I don't know if you guys have heard about the new electric, all electric pickup truck that's coming out from Slate.
Oh yeah, I've heard about this thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Where it is no frills, like completely and utterly bare bones, but still an electric vehicle, and doesn't have an infotainment system, doesn't have a sound system in it. It is just like as a place where you can mount your phone if you want, bring your own Bluetooth speakers if you want, but it's a refreshing like backpedal on an industry that is increasingly trying to like do really poorly at infotainment services in a
Yeah.
car that the main purpose is get me from here to there.
I mean,
you know.
it is an anti-Tesla electric vehicle.
Yeah, well, it's an entire industry. Like and so
Yeah.
I kind of feel like that's the sort of feeling I have a lot with televisions. Like most of the new televisions, as cool as they are, they're like, if I could just get a non-smart TV, a dumb TV, because
Mhm.
hey, like I know that if this thing I'm plugging into this TV doesn't work for some reason, then I can replace that thing, or like that could be the small part that's the replaceable thing, or I can move it around to other TVs. But like the internal guts, if you've got a problem with the smart features of it, or it's slow or whatever,
Mhm.
like what do? You don't. It just becomes waste.
Well, you're kind of making an assumption that a smart TV is not good.
Oh yeah, that's a big assumption I'm making, which is verifiably correct, 100%.
Okay. Yeah, I
As
don't.
someone who has not had a smart TV,
Okay.
I'm gonna.
So we have
Yeah.
the TV in our bedroom
Yeah.
is a smart TV that it was small, it was cheap, it just happened to be a smart TV, and I had my old Xbox plugged into it, and we just used it as a monitor essentially, right? And then
Yeah.
that Xbox stopped working, and we were like, oh no, now the TV is useless. Oh wait a minute, this is a smart TV. Turns out it has all of the same things that we would watch on the TV itself. Well, let's try it. And so far, we've had zero problems with it.
How responsive has it been?
I
In
mean,
terms
I've
of
been
like
using smart
pressing
TVs
buttons.
for years
Huh.
and not really had any issues.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think you're out of line, Ben.
On this show? In
Yeah,
this economy?
in this economy. No, I think I
Uh,
mean because essentially what it is, it's an internet connection. You have a TV with a built-in
Mhm.
internet connection that can just have whatever it needs to have on it. And now that having an internet connection in your home is pretty standard for us Americans and white male Americans, making big assumptions here, but it's pretty most people I'm assuming have some sort of internet connection. That means that TV can now have all the apps, all of them, anything you need. It's on there, and so why would you need another
yeah.
device? You
So
don't.
I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
However, what is like how often are these internet connected devices continuing to receive security updates, or are getting updates from the app makers in order to make sure that they can still function with the services? Like, is there?
I get updates all the time. Like whenever
Yeah.
if I mean, it's pretty frequently that if I'm opening an app, it'll say, "Do you want to update before you open it?" And I
What do
just
you
click
say?
yes, and it takes
Okay.
like 5 seconds, and it just does a loading thing, and it updates. And also the TV itself, like once every, it's not that often, but every few months, it'll say like a new version of the software is available. Do you want to upgrade it? And then so I upgrade it. So
And how
I
old
mean,
is
I
your
don't know how
TV?
well their security is, but they definitely have people working on these upgrades to make sure everything is current and running properly. And I haven't
How old
had
is
an
your
issue with any of the apps not working. Sorry,
how old
yeah.
is your TV, Devin?
The main one we use downstairs, we bought when we moved here. That was like, 3 years ago. But we
Okay.
had one before that for, I don't know, like long, long time.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, here's old man yelling at clouds, Ben, you
Yeah.
know,
Look at you.
yelling at the cloud. Yeah, look at me. Maybe I get to adapt, but thankfully I don't have a need to buy a new TV right now. I'm
Good.
just fine with my old 1080p
1080p.
little.
Are you living in the
Yeah.
Stone Age? What's the matter with you?
Yes,
Also,
sir.
I can easily stream from my phone to the TV, which is nice because if like I'm
Oh
playing,
yeah, yeah.
kids want to watch me do something on my phone, I can just stream it to the TV and they can just see it on the TV.
I saw
Yeah.
that's a new option with this new TV I've got. I was like, oh, it does Apple streaming, it does Google Play. It's got a lot of little features on it that
You used to
seem
have to like
useful.
download a separate app to do that and like pay for it, like a subscription or something. So I didn't do that. But this now, but then I did this where it was just like it just you go on your phone, it has the streaming button, you press it, and it just asks you which TV you want to stream to, and it just works. Like, it's great.
It just works.
This works.
All right.
Somehow. It works by magic.
Yeah, just magic technology. All right. So Ben needs to go reevaluate his life about smart TVs, which is fine.
No, I'm I am not in the market for a new TV. I want to be tremendously clear about that right now.
If you're not on 4K, what are you even doing?
What am I doing? I am watching things that don't need to be upresed to ridiculous things. Like I'm watching Red Dwarf, Stephen, a television show from the late 80s and 90s all the way through to 2020. And
you need to upgrade your life, sir. Stop with the old stuff. Get with the new stuff.
Need to. Yeah, you know what? A lot of the
left behind,
old
old
stuff
man.
is far better than the new stuff. I've seen what the new stuff gets us. It gets us pain and suffering.
I've seen episodes 7, 8, and 9. Bunch of horse malarkey.
Well, that was much better than 1, 2, and 3, though.
Ooh,
I'll tell you.
Ooh. Okay.
That's an interesting debate.
That is a very interesting debate.
We just spend the rest of the episode doing that because I've thought a little bit about that recently.
Okay, future or now, we're scrapping all of our plans. We're talking about Star Wars.
Let's go.
Let's go. Okay. Interestingly, I've only watched episode 9 once in the theater, and I've never felt the need to go back and watch it again.
Me too. Except I did go back and try to watch it again. And this is while I was working, so I wouldn't even be paying full attention. And 5 minutes in, I was like, I can't do it. I turned it off.
Wow. Now I would tell you that. So I've seen episode 9 3 times. It is definitely the worst.
Okay.
But is it worse than the Phantom Menace or that second one, the
Attack of the Clones?
the Camino one? Attack of the Clones. Yeah. Like, is it? And it's like, that's because boy, like, I love 7. I really like 8, and 9's just okay. It's got some scenes that are like, oh, that's fascinating how you did that. You know, you get to see Harrison Ford again. Spoilers, you know. And
I still
a touching
think The
scene.
Phantom Menace is the worst of all the movies. But I'm not sure if that brings the average down enough for me to say the prequels were worse than the sequels.
Like, I love. Okay, so
But I
Phantom
really
Menace-
dislike the prequels.
Yeah, right.
I'm not saying the prequels were good.
Yeah, but like if we're talking about like rankings, I'd put the sequels higher than the prequels in my ranking
All
of the films, just on whole.
Okay.
Mhm.
Let's see. The sequel. How do I spell sequel? Better than prequels.
Prequels,
So
I guess you could just work it out mathematically because I'm just like, I could just rank those 6 movies, assign numbers to their rankings, and average it out, and that would have the answer.
that's
Right.
That's true. We could do that. Let me drop
Sure.
my own opinions here.
Yeah.
You got the original trilogy, which is, I mean, they're pretty good movies. Not perfect. They're pretty good movies. So we got to take them off the pedestal right off the bat. They're pretty good movies.
Oh yeah. They're gonna and taking Rogue One off of there because that's the best Star Wars movie. You know,
100%. No. So if we're just talking about those movies 1 through 9, right? 4, 5, 6 at the top of the cut. No arguments there. Now, when I look at the prequels versus the sequels, the main issue I have is that the sequels don't have the same through line story that the prequels do. When you look at the prequels and the original trilogy, you have
payoffs.
You have these two connected stories. You've got the journey of Darth Vader and of his son, and then it ends. And it's the Skywalker family as the through line for all 6 of those movies. The sequel movies don't have that at all.
True.
And that for me is like the biggest sin of those movies is that there is no like there is no Skywalker lineage to follow. That story's done. So how would you continue that story? You would continue it with Luke's children, and they don't do that. Like that lineage.
That's not
doesn't
necessary.
exist.
I think you can continue it with not necessarily Skywalker lineage. I mean, it can be part of the movie. It's just having a consistent plan to tell one story. Like you said, the sequel.
That's
the
another
prequels
problem.
had an idea. The prequels had an idea, and they, for the most part, stuck to this overall concept. The sequels, as we've talked about plenty of times, are it's so weird the way they just didn't have a plan and they just randomly gave it to different people to do the different movies. Although obviously it went back to J.J. Abrams because they got scared and went back to him. But
which
it's just such a weird.
He's a competent filmmaker. I see why they did it.
So is Rian Johnson.
The Last
Colin
Jedi.
Trevorrow, who was going to be doing 9, also is a competent filmmaker. Like they, yeah.
So to me, when you have like father and son, then you do father and son again. Like if they just took that character of Kylo Ren and just made him Luke's kid, then you have this cyclical. The father, the son becomes the father, and then there's another son. Like, and you it's like poetry, it rhymes. Like that's the whole point of Star Wars. When that happens within Star Wars, it makes sense. That's how that world has been built for us. So when that doesn't exist, like I could see them like, hey, it's Leia and Han's kid. Isn't that cool? I guess. Let's see where it goes, and then it's not, because then it's not about him. It's about Rey. Well, who's Rey? We don't know. Okay.
Right.
And that's where the things start to kind of fall apart. And I'm talking about this in like an overall like lore sense of like main story. I'm not nitpicking down to the movie itself. All 3 movies are movies. The 7 and 8 are competent films. 9, I mean, maybe it is as well, but it had a lot of pressure on it to like wrap up, quote unquote, the entire saga, and it doesn't. It's just it's silly. So that's why I say the prequels are better. And the problem with the prequels is not the overall story that's happening; it's the movie making itself. That's the problem with the prequels. Lucas isn't the best filmmaker. He's okay.
They have opposite problems. I think for me, like as someone who usually doesn't watch things in 9-hour chunks,
typically
just in one sit, that's where the prequels on their own, each one of those films is not as good of a film as 7 and 8. And so like I look at it just as like, hey, I'm sitting down to watch a single film. However it connects with the rest of it is almost immaterial. Did I enjoy the time? Like, was I swept away into another place for the 2 hours? And then also, how long does it take before I see the cracks in it when I'm thinking about it later on? And in 1, 2, and 3, I saw the cracks almost immediately. In 7 and 8, the cracks only came upon thinking about it later, like comparing it to the rest of the films.
Because they're competent films.
Yeah. And I mean, there, or whenever you think like, I mean, 8, you get a little bit closer because you're like, why does that have gravity right here? What are these ships even doing? Like, I understand my friends who have I hear your issues with it, but almost every film has especially in science fiction, has a bunch of suspension of disbelief. And I kind of give a lot of films credence. Like if I'm watching a time travel movie, time travel movies don't make sense, but if they make sense to your heart when you're watching it and you're in it, and you're, and then you come back to it later and you're like, oh, what did I just watch? That doesn't make any sense. The fact that you were swept away during that time, sitting down with it, Like, I give that a lot.
I understand what you're saying. However, when you're watching a time travel movie and you go like, oh, this is I'm being swept away. This is a fantastic story. But if I think about the physics of it, it doesn't work. But that doesn't matter because it was a fantastic story. That's great. I understand that. With Star Wars, there is an established way that things work.
Mm-hmm.
There is a consistency within the world. And the prequels don't
Or there
care.
was.
Or the sequels don't care. The sequel
Right.
trilogy is like all this stuff that's been laid out before, that's been in 7, 8 other movies, TV shows. Like there's all of this established way that things work within that universe. And then it just goes, we'll just make up our own stuff.
Well, and I
that's a
think,
problem.
I'm not sure if you're referring to, I mean, I don't care. I can suspend disbelief just as much as anyone else on a good sci-fi movie. I've criticized J.J. Abrams in particular for like The Force Awakens, and he does a lot of the same stuff in Star Trek where he just doesn't care at all about the way astronomy works, basic
Yeah.
astronomy. And it's like, okay, I get you can suspend disbelief because you want to do a certain story element, but it's like if you had your characters, like say they have to get something underwater, and you just had them go underwater for an hour, and they're like, there's no reference to them having to breathe, and they're still human.
Yeah.
You'd be like, well, wait, that doesn't make any sense. Like there's a fundamental aspect of this that's wrong.
Yeah.
If you shoot a laser millions of light years across the galaxy without explanation, and people on planets somewhere can see it in the sky. I mean, come on, there's a fundamental way light works. And I get that we're not all physicists and we're not all nerds. But there's a reason we can't just look up and see, anything we want in the sky, except for things that are in low Earth orbit or Earth orbit, like the moon. But it's just basic things like that, where you're just like, you don't care at all. You just wanted this laser to destroy this planet. You didn't want to take the time to get the weapon in range, which is the entire first movie.
Yep.
New Hope, it's about getting the Death Star in range and falling Bob.
And the thing that really the thing that really sticks in my craw about that is that they could have Star Wars'd a way around that. They could have been like, we shoot this super laser into this hyperspace beam splitter, and then the lasers travel through hyperspace and then get to the planets. Like, okay, sure.
Acknowledge it, that's fine.
And then you go, okay, so ships go through hyperspace, and that's kind of not explained in the world ever. They're in hyperspace for as long as they need to be, and that's how all the movies are.
Too.
Yeah,
if there was like a hyperspace ring in orbit above Starkiller Base, and the beam went through that.
Yeah, and then then you show it like the beam going through hyperspace for like a 5-second clip, and then you see it exiting hyperspace right into the planet and exploding like.
And then instead of just having the ships just randomly attack Starkiller Base and them just happening to know some weakness of it without that being part of the plot, you could have had them like somehow like refract the hyperspace lens to somehow reach back and like destroy the planet or something.
I mean, sure, but like it would have like upped the stakes of a Death Star, right? Because previous movies, Death Star, giant spaceship essentially has to travel to the planet and then kill the planet. Well, now instead of giant spaceship, you have a planet that is a Death Star, and it can reach any other planet in the entire galaxy without moving. That ups the stakes without changing any of the rest of the plot. Right. You just make that one tweak, and they go like, wow, this is so important that we kill this thing because now it's targeting, other important things. It just took out the government, which okay, that's
so let's but I think that like that the whys of how plot happens is one thing where I completely agree with you. There are whys in the sequel trilogy that are not consistent in the way that the prequel trilogy is. There are personal like character beats and moments and character through lines that work in the sequel trilogy that don't work in, like I almost feel like the prequel trilogy is anti-character. Like it's so difficult to watch these incredible actors be given such wooden, terrible dialogue and things that they have to do that don't make any sense. That like that part, you know, that the people that are in these wars is an important, you know, is important. And I think that the sequel trilogy does a far better job with the people than the prequel does on a whole.
I would agree with that, for sure. There's a lot the sequels got right when it came to filmmaking.
Yeah.
The look, they
it-
look way better than the prequels.
I mean, the
The
prequels
characters,
came out.
yeah, definitely better.
The prequels came out in a time when like this technology was all cutting edge. You know, like
But they overreached
oh, for sure.
in their,
But
you know.
but he
yeah.
also overreached with Star Wars.
True,
and it
yeah.
happened to work. It happened to work out for the best. He overreached for the prequels, and while they still made, you know, however much money they made, I'm sure it's a lot. They wasn't well received technologically, I think, as the originals were.
Right. Now, mind you, okay, I totally agree with whatever that punk rock band is. That why didn't I cry when Han Solo died?
Yeah, yeah, that's a fun song.
like yeah, I completely agree. Like why didn't, you know, why did Chewie just howl and then kill a couple stormtroopers and go?
Chewie should have sacrificed himself to try to kill Kylo Ren. Like that's what that scene should have been.
There are some very, you know, like they're not perfect movies by character arc, by any stretch of the imagination, but I believe that these characters are doing these things, and I'm not rolling my eyes as often in the sequel trilogy as the prequels.
Okay.
You know,
I think like another issue that maybe I have, a personal issue of mine with the prequels, is that they have been propped up with additional material since then. Like we have all of the Clone Wars cartoons and Rebels and like all of this other stuff that kind of takes place within those time periods that help to prop them up. And now,
and what does the sequels have? They have the Resistance.
Resistance.
God help us.
Yeah, I didn't even finish that series.
Neither did I.
But now like you've got the whole like Mandalorian era stuff, which has been good, but that's not propping up the sequels. I wish when you just said like why didn't I cry when Han Solo died, I was just thinking of that scene. How much better would that scene have been if the Kylo Ren character was Luke's kid, and so he's got his uncle telling him like, hey man, like you don't have to do this, it's all good, and he just like looks like my father abandoned me. What are you gonna do? And then kills him. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, in the same way, how much better would it have been if Anakin wasn't trying to hit on Padme as a 10-year-old and starting to get that to work? Like
no, he wasn't hitting on her. He just said she was pretty, and he was cold because he comes from a desert planet and he's in space now.
Are you an angel?
And yeah. Bad films, good plots.
I'm just you know, like, yeah, there are a lot of ways that there's a lot of stuff that surrounds it, but like on the whole, if I'm gonna throw on one of those 6 films, as just like I'm gonna have it on and just enjoy my afternoon, it's likely it's going to be one of the sequel trilogy. Which
right now, you've got the rest of the day, you've got nothing to do. You can put on a Star Wars. Which Star Wars are you putting on?
For today?
Yeah.
Today would be the last
the original
Jedi.
Trilogy?
No, because obviously...
Yeah, out of these 6.
Out of this
today
6.
would probably be the Last Jedi.
Today's the Last Jedi kind of day. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
You know,
The Last Jedi, I mean, they're all bad in their own special ways.
Yeah.
The Last Jedi. I mean, everyone's talked endlessly about The Last Jedi on YouTube. they talk about it as like it's like the movie that launched a bunch of YouTube careers for people reviewing
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah.
But
Armchair critics. Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of liked it at first, and I don't hate it. I liked that it tried to do so many different things, but it left me with such a weird feeling after watching it. Just
Mm.
like what did I watch? Like what really happened? Where's like just I was just I don't know, melancholy, baffled, like I was just like, what is this?
I mean, they're trying to recapture Empire Strikes Back, and you can't. Like
Well, I
that.
mean, consider other second films of trilogies, like even Matrix Reloaded, right? Where it ends in a similar way, where it ends with this idea that kind of shifts where the story could go in the next installment in very serious and significant ways. And then it doesn't, neither of them necessarily have the films that follow it up,
Yeah.
but it's still like it poses so many incredible ideas about Rey's character, about like, what does it matter? Does it matter that there is a lineage of, of Jedi, or is your connection to the Force one that the Force is so strong that it goes beyond that, like that is more about the teaching. We are what they grow beyond. Like all of that encapsulated in The Last Jedi is just so beautiful and pitch perfect.
There's a lot of cool stuff in there. A lot of cool ideas. You can tell they worked the most on that plot. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's the stuff that the Luke Rey stuff is the most fleshed out.
Yeah.
The spaceship chase,
Yeah, it's
like,
silly.
the first time you watch it, it's exciting because you don't know what's
Right.
going to happen. But every other time, it's just like boring because
It's like the pod racing.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
an entire film of pod racing.
It's
and and thankfully the Phantom Menace, its strength is that it only had half a film of pod racing.
Here's something interesting. I don't know. Have you guys watched any Andor recently?
Yeah, I've watched a lot of Andor recently, only of the first season. I'm rewatching the first
I'm
season.
just 2 episodes behind the current season, so
Okay, so
I know everybody's been talking about the last few episodes have been like the best ever.
Oh, they're
and
the-
I'm really enjoying the season.
yeah,
So
hands down,
I've been wanting to watch it as much as possible.
best Star Wars there's ever been is this season
Nice.
of Andor. But one minor thing that does not have to do with the overall plot and stuff, but there's a visit to Saw Gerrera and his partisans, and they are on Dakar. Dakar is where the Resistance base was in Episode 7 and at the very beginning of
Oh.
Episode 8 where they're leaving it.
Oh, wow.
It looks like it too. Like it looks like the same.
It's like the same, like they shot on the same location or they used the same effects, whatever. I think it's a location. But it's kind of nice that like the way that Andor doesn't push it in your face, some of this stuff. And it just, when you do stop to think about it, it makes sense. Like, oh, this was an old rebel base that was abandoned. Because at the end of that little scene, Saw's like, pack up, we're leaving. If you can't pack it, burn it, and we're out of here. That it, like, Leia would know about old rebel bases to then send the Resistance to have a base later because the Empire never found it and that kind of stuff. So, like, those kinds of awesome connections that make sense plot-wise, are consistent, aren't pushed in your face as like a member berry. That is what both the prequels and the sequels got wrong. Both of those things. The prequels were all about like, hey, here's that thing that you've been looking forward to seeing, and here it is, Coruscant. Check it out. Look at all these vehicles and flying around buildings.
You thought
cool.
we could we could change how Coruscant is pronounced? Well, we Coruscant.
We Coruscant, sure can. Coruscant. And
I could go on for a while about all the things that Andor does right. But I wonder, do I like Andor so much because it's objectively that good, or is it just because, in contrast, just all the other Star Wars content that's been put out? Like,
No, it's good.
I think it's objectively good,
It's
but
objectively
Yeah.
good TV. Yeah.
yeah,
The-
but it's just it shows you what you can. This is what I wanted when Star Wars was coming back, when Disney was buying it. Not that I expected Disney to do something this serious. It's kind of funny. Like I would expected a more of a middle ground, but this is like prestige TV for Star Wars, and it's like, yes, it can be done.
It can.
Andor proves it can be done. I get
Yes.
that you wouldn't want to make a a blockbuster movie with this tone because you wouldn't have a wide enough audience, but you can still get a lot of these elements correct
Yeah.
and add in some other stuff. But it is possible to take this world seriously and make a good story out of it.
Yeah. And not only that, they're making prestige TV, like you said. It's in the Star Wars, and they are also still paying homage to and making connections to all the other properties out there, from Clone Wars and Rebels, and like it's all taking place in the same time period. There's a point in the last the third episode of the last arc, where a thing happens. I don't want to spoil it for you guys because you haven't watched it yet. But again, it's like I said, beautiful TV. But there's a point where they say, "Hey, this happened, but we're gonna spin it another way," and the other way that it's spun is how we saw it in Rebels. And so they're like even though a thing that happens also happened in Rebels, they like, hey, we have to have it happen that way for a certain reason, but we know like what really happened was what was in Andor. And instead of just ignoring that connection, and it was like one line where they're like, hey, we need to spin the story a different way. And it's like a couple characters just say it's like a couple of lines and that's it. And that's enough to be like, hey, the thing that happened in Rebels, that cartoon is still valid and still makes sense. And there's a reason for it. And like, cause the Andor stuff is all like secret spy stuff. And they're like, hey, we need to show stuff to the galaxy, say, hey, we're the rebellion. This is what we're doing. And that already happened in Rebels. And so they're like, they make that connection between the two of them with a couple of sentences. Beautiful. Just beautiful. Anyways.
That's the other thing. It doesn't treat the audience like it doesn't have to hit you over the head with plot points. I mean, sometimes like Jen and I watching it, we're like, well, wait a minute. Did we miss something? It's like, no, that happened between like in the year between the episodes.
Yeah.
And, they're just referencing, and it's interesting how they do that. And then like, even when characters are like setting things up, it feels a bit more like, Game of Thrones or something where they're talking about secret plans and you're not entirely sure what it is because you don't have all the information yet. And it's just, that's how all other good TV shows are made. Like finally Star Wars can do that too.
Yeah.
Now he's got to have Star Trek do it.
Well, we'll get there, I hope. Tony,
No, Star Trek is okay.
Tony Gilroy, the showrunner for Andor, he was like, I want to make a TV show about how to rebel, or about a rebellion and how it really works against an empire. And I want to take the time to do it right and have every story arc like tackle this different part of how to do it. And so it has a very clear vision of what it wants to be. Very clear, with one person in charge, unlike the sequel trilogy. And that's, like we say, that's the plots of the sequel trilogy is its weak point, because we don't have that. There is no Lucas, right? There is no Dave Filoni. There is no one person who's like, okay, here's what's really going on here. Here's the overarching story. Here's how we get from point A to point B to point C. It was just all random, which is unfortunate. But that's why Andor is so good. And it's still the kind of show where we know where it's going to end. And they're still making a beautiful show. Like we know
right on.
Certain characters aren't going to make it because they don't appear in Andor. We know some characters are going to show up, like K2SO. Eventually has to pop up somewhere because they're buddies in Rogue One. When's that going to happen? How does that happen? Does it happen, between it? Anyways. So yeah, Andor's great. Where do we go from here, guys? Are we done talking Star Wars?
Well, so I ranked because I did want to figure out if I
Okay.
like the prequels or sequels more.
Give us your rankings. What do you got?
Because the more I think about it, the more I think they're both not that great. So it is hard to figure out which one's better. So should I go from worst to best?
Yes.
Sure.
So I have worst is the Phantom Menace.
Okay.
I think that one's we can all agree on. Then my next one, you guys are gonna completely disagree with me.
Okay.
The Force Awakens.
I don't agree with your opinions. Opinions are opinions. What's next?
Yeah. Well, The Force Awakens, because I was looking forward to it a lot, and I was really let down of it being a remake of A New Hope, and I think the world building is terrible. I hate the fact that we're just fighting a new evil force that's like the Empire, but it makes absolutely no sense at this time. And I kept wanting more out of it. So anyway, then 3 is Rise of Skywalker, which I've only seen once, but I do recall it was entertaining, at least, even though it was nonsensical. Then Attack of the Clones, which I actually I've said many times I have a soft spot for Attack of the Clones. I actually really like that movie.
Okay.
And then it's not great. It's plenty of flaws, but I just think it works the best structurally of the prequels. The Last Jedi is 5, just because it tries to do different things, which I do commend, even though the result is mixed. And then Revenge of the Sith is the best of all of them, which also has plenty of flaws. And anyway, so I just numbered them 1 through 6 and added up the totals, and so the prequels have 11 points and the sequels have 10 points. So apparently, I think the prequels were better.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, and
Fantastic.
for me,
okay.
worst would be number 9.
Okay.
would be Rise of Skywalker. Phantom Menace
That's
is 5th.
worst?
Is next worst.
Okay.
Then basically it goes up like Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, and then at the top I've got 7 and 8. So
okay.
that's where mine lands, where the tippity top is 7 and 8, then 3, 2, 1, 9. I'm sure I could tally those up, but I'm pretty sure.
Having 7 and 8 at the top, that's already 11 points. I'm sure
Yeah.
that the sequels are going to win.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's mine. But oh yeah, you're writing it all out. ROS, TPM.
Oh yeah, I know all the acronyms. So many acronyms.
Yeah. Totes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I recently watched something where a little interview with Ian McGregor, which happened around the time that the Obi-Wan show came out. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
And he was saying like how much better it was because there were physical sets to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of those things that when you look back at the prequel trilogy and you think about how it was made as a film, he was like, yeah, we're just, on like green boxes and like running around, and it was just like so hard on the actors. And to then have him be able to portray the same character with a different type of filmmaking, you could tell that he just loved doing Obi-Wan just because he could like see the stuff around him.
Yeah, and I mean he brought such pathos to the Obi-Wan show that yeah.
I mean go ahead.
For all of its challenges, which there are quite a few, emotionally there's some really, really incredible things that are happening on that, and it is what Ewan McGregor and the Darth Vader actor Hayden Christensen bring to it. Yeah. As well as the rest of the supporting actors as well.
Yeah, it was fine. Like to have that story redone by like the Andor people would be way better.
Yeah.
I saw an interview with the actress that plays Dedra.
Oh yeah,
Dedra, the from Andor, and she's like she showed up to set and was expecting like green screens and stuff. And she's like, no, they built like an entire city. And she's like, I went into one of the cafes, like opened the drawer, expecting there to be, like cables or something, and there was like dishes in there. Like,
yeah, it can be done. Using the the volume and using green screen. We as in filmmakers have figured out the best way to use those things. It's not all, it's not none, it's somewhere in the middle. Like, because you see the behind the scenes stuff and you look at the Gorman Square that they built, but then like up all around it is the green screen. Like, okay, so the middle and all that's real, and then anything beyond, well, that's where the CG is, because you can't build an entire city. But like all of those buildings right there are real, and like, oh, that's how you do it. But that's also like, there is so much of that story that takes place, like that square, which is a circle, which is weird. That square is where like all of the important stuff happens for that arc. Of course you would make it for real. Like, how could you not? Anyways, Andor is beautiful, and Maul Shadow Lord. I'm excited for that, to see where that goes. That's the new animated series that was announced at Celebration, and it's taking that Maul from where we see him at the end of Clone Wars season 7, after Ahsoka beats him up real good and he runs off, and it's supposed to fill in like him. What he does essentially, and there was an interview with Sam Witwer, who's still doing the voice for Maul, talking about when they were doing Clone Wars, he had all these ideas for the character, and they were like, "That's cool, that's good, but this isn't the Maul show." Like, "Oh wow, that'd be great character development, but this isn't the Maul show." He's like, "Well, now we do have the Maul show," so it'd be interesting to see what they do with that character, because we know where that character ends. If you've seen that episode of Rebels. His final duel with Obi-Wan in the desert. And so, that should be another like filler bit that could explore some cool stuff. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're doing book club. Yay. All of the science that we were going to talk about today, none of it. All of that next week. Now, good job, guys. We don't have to do any prep for next week, because we've got it all ready right here. So let's see, we listened to There Are More Things by, I think it's Jorge Luis Borges. I'm pretty sure he's a Spanish author, if I remember correctly. So we have a link in our show notes to check out.
He's from Argentina.
Argentina. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for correcting me. Argentinian author. We'll have a link in our show notes if you want to listen. It's about a 20-minute listen, and we're going to talk about it when we come back. So we'll be right back. Oh, wow. Another free listener. Incredible. Look, I love that you're here, but let's be real. You could be getting so much more. Bonus episodes, unfiltered takes, behind-the-scenes chaos. All you have to do is join our Patreon at patreon.com/sciencefactionpodcast. Or don't. But if you don't, just know that somewhere in a parallel universe, a better version of you already has. And we're back.
Heyo.
Hey.
And a big thank you to our patrons, Renee and Josh. You guys are great.
You're the goats, right?
Yeah.
That's what the kids call them, the goats. You guys are goats.
Such goats. Much wow. All right.
What are we doing next week?
Well, so next week, thanks to Devon, we are going to be reading a short story by Ted Chiang and there went Devon. He said, no, thank you. Yeah. So we're going to read a story called The Evolution of Human Science by Ted Chiang, which is from his book, Stories of Your Life and Others. You could find it. It's included for free with your Audible subscription, or you can find it any other way that you need to. Ted Chiang, you would know because one of the stories from this book was adapted to create the film Arrival.
Oh, that's a good one too. I liked Arrival.
So, but we're not reading that story.
No.
We're reading The Evolution of Human Science by Ted Chiang, and it should be pretty brief, is what Devon was mentioning. But he heard a lot of great things about this one. So,
all right, fantastic. So we'll look forward to that, especially if you have an Audible subscription. Very easy. Otherwise, yo ho, do what you gotta do. This week, however. Oh, look, Devon's back.
Sorry.
Hey, man.
Hey, Devon.
Technology's hard. What happened?
I just closed the wrong window.
He's
Yeah.
like, I'm done with this. Exit. These fools. All right. So this week we listened to, or perhaps read, There Are More Things by Jorge Luis Borges, the Argentinian author. And I listened to it via this YouTube link that was supplied to me via somebody. Who found this?
Yeah. Well, I mean, thanks to Devon, he turned, like I think that a week or two ago, he found one of the stories on quasar spectra, the pre-90s science fiction readings YouTube channel, and so I just looked at his at the quasar spectra page, found out which ones have a good length. I recognized Jorge Luis Borges and said, well, what about this one? And here we are.
Here we are. Originally published in the July 1975 issue of the Atlantic Monthly magazine, republished in a collection of the author's stories called The Book of Sand in 1977. A lot of sand in 1977.
It gets everywhere.
It gets everywhere. And in another anthology called Acolytes of Cthulhu in 2001, hint, 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 read by Daryl T. Smith II for my channel Quasar Spectra. Yeah, so this is a cool like little YouTube channel of saying like, hey, this is just readings of old sci-fi. That's really awesome. I'm glad this exists.
And no AI. It's entirely,
somebody reading it, which I guess is good. I don't know.
Either it's no AI or really good AI.
Once the AI gets good enough, it won't really matter, will it?
It's I.
Hey.
It's meet AI. Meet I.
All right. What is this story about, Devon?
Oh. What's it about?
Yeah.
I was hoping you guys could tell me.
Did you not? Did you? Devon,
no, I read it. No, I listened
not?
to it.
Okay.
No, I listened to it.
Okay.
I feel like I missed something or nothing really happened.
Oh, you're not wrong on both. It seems. Oh, man.
It starts off, the main character, he says he got the news that his uncle died while he was taking his exams in philosophy, or his philosophy exam if it was just one class, and talks about his uncle who lived in Argentina?
Yeah.
Sure.
Near Buenos Aires. And he talks about how his uncle taught him philosophy, and his uncle died, and then some guy bought the house and had it reconstructed from the inside, and people didn't want to work on it because it was made by an architect that his uncle had chosen out, who he was friends with.
An Italian guy.
And then so he goes to investigate, or it was also the narrative, like it was like, was he there or was he just telling us about it? He eventually goes there to investigate. Because the guy who bought his house, or they found like a decapitated dog outside the house.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the guy like moved away, never to be heard from again.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The first, I mean, I think that dear listener, you're hearing a little bit of the consternation of this, because there's a lot of things that happen in the first 80% of this story that are just a like almost a diary. It almost feels just like really like mundane things with sharp things that happen that like are extremely interesting and weird, and then back to the mundane, and it's just like, oh, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and then there was a decapitated dog. Moving on.
There's a lot of set dressing and setup, but essentially, like what I got out of this was like, there was a family member, there was a house, they died, someone else did weird stuff at the house. Now I'm gonna go look at the house. And then that's like the first 80%. And then he goes in the house, and then weird, story's over. And the weird, like there was one line that stuck out to me where it was like the plurality of what I saw was strange. Like, the word plurality in the sense of like something that he saw. The whole point, I think, is that there was something unknowable that happened there. And how do you explain the unknowable? How do you
Right.
how do you write about that? How do you interact with it? And it was just kind of strange at the end there. Like, I was there for the setup. I was like, okay, cool. We got this house. We got weird stuff going on. There's, the connections and the uncle and I like to learn from the books, and all the books went away, and like, oh, okay, fine. All these things. Great. But then when it came down to the investigation part, I'm going to go in there and take a look myself. It just took like a sharp turn, and I didn't get it. Did you guys get anything?
It's like the Blair Witch Project.
That's what I thought of. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Where the real meat of it, you think right at the end you're going to get an answer, but you're left with the gaping maw of unknowing.
Don't get fancy now, Ben. We know who you are.
This is Fancy Ben that's why you have me on the podcast, because of how fancy I am.
Fancy Ben.
But like, yeah, basically he goes into the house, he turns on a light and sees all this weird, incomprehensible pieces of furniture, and then like waits for it to stop raining, so he leaves. But then he hears something in the darkness, the house's occupant, that's moving between him and the door. So he's got to pass by whatever this creature is to exit the house. And so he decides to make a run for it while keeping his eyes open. And that's the end of the story.
Yeah. We needed like one more sentence, and then I died.
We needed more things. There are more things, it says.
There are.
And
that's
where are they?
Wow. Sand. It's all sand. What an interesting story. That, like you said, that last 20% just needed more. But I'm trying to place this in the context of the era, like the mid 70s, and like what sci-fi has happened. Like how, because you've got all of this is definitely in the area of like Lovecraft, right? The Lovecraftian horror, the horror of the unknown. That stuff has been around. It's according to the Wikipedia page, it bears the dedication in memory of H.P. Lovecraft. So obviously there it is. And let's see, there's also the title alludes to Hamlet's lines. There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy, from Hamlet. So there are more things. So like, is this just saying like, hey, what we know about like all of this casual real life stuff that I've been talking about this whole time, that's one way to look at what exists in our reality. However, there are more things, and his uncle found these more things, but we don't have the right reference frame of mind to understand these more things. But still, there wasn't enough. I wanted more.
He talked about how one of the things his uncle taught him, or books they read together, was about imagining cubes in 4 dimensions.
Yeah.
And I meant to look that up to see if like that was a reference to something real.
That's a tesseract.
Well, yeah, it's a tesseract, but I think he referenced a particular author writing about it.
Oh, okay.
And he said mentioned at one point like all the cubes on his uncle's floor or something. So they were doing some mental thing about extra dimensions, like at least referenced to it. So that also kind of hints at the Cthulhu thing of Lovecraftian things from another realm.
Okay.
Just kind of a connection there.
So it, as a story, it was fine. I mean, okay, as a written piece of art, it was good. It all made sense.
Yeah.
It was well written. It was the content at the end that, yeah, it got weird. It got weird on purpose, but there wasn't like enough there to really chew on and think about. It's just like, and then there's a couple of weird things. Okay, goodbye. Like we needed like something else, which there are more things. Yeah. I think this story was written exactly how this guy wanted to write it. I think this is very purposeful how this was written.
Oh yeah.
And that is not my kind of story.
It feels so of a different era, you know, like back then, a lot more stories maybe were more meandering. You know, like I think about speculative fiction of the mid 20th century and how, you know, like they're still working out the form. And this seems to be like of a time, you know, in the 70s this came out. Like, yeah, perhaps it is of its time.
Yeah, which is fine. I like to, you know, look at this stuff. It's interesting.
Yeah.
We have to see where we've been in order to go somewhere new.
Are there more things? Really?
Yeah,
because I'd like to see them.
Look behind the bookshelf. That's where the more things are. Yeah.
So I guess Devon, did you like this one?
I was enjoying it up until the end. Like I was curious where it was going, and it was written well enough to where it kept me engaged. But yeah, I was disappointed with the resolution, such as it was.
Yeah, I think that's exactly correct.
Yeah,
that's how I feel about it as well. Like, was this story supposed to be read by somebody who was not expecting Lovecraftian horror? Was this supposed to be like, was your point of view on this going into it supposed to be like, oh, I'm going to read this fun little mystery story. And then in the end, like this weird stuff happened. It's like, whoa, that blew my mind. But like going into it thinking like, oh, this has some Lovecraftian stuff in it. That perspective or that, I guess that perspective might really change the way that we perceive the whole thing, because it's not what we were. It was what we were anticipating, and it wasn't good. But if you go into it anticipating something different, maybe that's where the magic lies. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Context, baby. All right. Well, I think that's going to be it for book club this week. Next week, The Evolution of Human Science by Ted Chiang. We already talked about where to find that, so do that, and we will talk about it next week. It's time. We're just gonna wrap this one right up. Devon, you got any final thoughts about cubes in 4 dimensions or Star Wars, sand? What you got?
Well, I have a final thought. It's in 3 chapters. Each chapter is broken down into 10 segments. Those segments have 9 sub-paragraphs each. So, begin. Chapter 1, subparagraph 1. Go to hell.
This has been the Science Faction Podcast. Tweet to the host at SciFact Podcast. Email them at sciencefactionpodcast@gmail.com and visit sciencefactionpodcast.com for more episodes.